資料を共有させていただきます。
All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you.
はい。ですね。今申し上げた通り、私の名前は京真知子と申します。
My name is Kyo Machiko.
この名前は実際の本当の名前ではありません。
This is not my real name.
日本の、有名な女優さんから取っています。
My name is derived from one of the very famous popular Japanese actress.
小津安二郎という監督の作品によく出ていた京真知子という女優さんです。
So there was a very popular Japanese film director called Otsuya Tsujiro, and she often would act in the movies directed by this director.
で、私の職業は漫画家となっています。
And my job and my profession is to draw mangas.
最終学歴は、東京芸術大学という、日本の国立の芸術大学を卒業しています。
I have graduated from the Tokyo National University of Arts from Tokyo.
はい。で、そうですね。今ここに出しているものは私が今までに見たインドの映画で好きなものです。
These are the movies, some of the movies that I really like from India, Bollywood movies, as you can see on the screen. I've seen all of them.
一番好きなのは、バーフバリです。
However, this one tops the list for me.
特に私が気分が落ち込んだ時などはよくバーフバリの歌をかけて元気になっています。
Sometimes when I am low, I'm not feeling very well, I often play the songs from this movie Bahubali and, get back in the pink of my health.
そうですね。一番好きなシーンはここに出ている通り、痴漢をした男を、バーフバリが首を切り落とすというシーンです。
This is my most favorite scene from the movie where the protagonist, the actor, he decapitates a man who has been accused or who was accused of groping a woman.
最高の旦那さんだと思いました。
I think he's the best husband anyone can ever dream of.
はい。そうですね。で、こちらが、私の話に戻ります。
So from here on, I would like to talk a little about my own mangas that I have written so far.
こちらにあるのが私が今までに出版した漫画作品の本の表紙です。
These are all the mangas that I have published so far. These are the front covers of those mangas.
実際かなり量がありまして、多分これは全部ではありません。
Actually, these are not all my mangas. There are quite a lot of more mangas that I have, but I could not possibly put all of them here.
今自分で見て忘れていた作品もあるぐらいでよく働いたなと思います。
I think I have been drawing quite a lot of mangas. In fact, I'm not very sure if I remember all of them myself.
はい。こちらが私の今までの受賞歴です。
These are the awards which I have received so far.
いくつかそうですね、大きい賞をご紹介したいと思います。
I would like to just highlight a couple of the very prestigious awards that I have received so far.
2014年の手塚治虫文化賞というものがあります。
The one that I received in 2014, which is called Tezuka Osamu Cultural Award, that is one of the prestigious awards.
これは1年に1人だけ選ばれる賞です。
This is awarded to only one person in Japan every year.
手塚治虫という人は日本の漫画の神様と呼ばれているような存在の方です。
Tezuka Osamu is an equivalent of God when it comes to manga in Japan.
ですからこの賞をもらえたということは漫画の神様に認められたということで非常に自信がつきました。
So I'm really happy to have received this award because this somehow means that I've received my blessings from the god of manga uh, by receiving this award.
はい。で、もう一つは2015年の日本漫画家協会賞というものです。
すいません、もう一度お願いします。
2015年のジャパンカートゥニストソサイティアワード。
はい。ありがとうございます。So another one which is of note is the one that I received in 2015, the subsequent year, and that is from the Japan Cartoonist Society Award.
これは私がいわゆる漫画ではなくて、ほぼイラストと漫画の中間のような作品を書いた作品に対して与えられた賞です。
Okay. So this award is not actually for my mangas, but it's actually somewhere between the drawings and the manga. Something I made, like one of my works, which is not exactly a manga and is not exactly a painting or a drawing either. So it's somewhere in between.
ですから、一見漫画と思えないような、作品でも漫画であるということを証明した、重要な賞です。
This is a very important prize that actually certifies that that this is a very good quality of the manga or the illustration.
はい、でこのスタイルの作品というのは私京マチコの結構典型的な作品として知られています。
This is also one of the styles which is known among my fans and my readers as the style of Kyo Machiko.
皆さんが今、インスタグラムで今日マチコを検索すると出てくる一連のシリーズ1枚の絵も漫画であるということを証明しています。
So if you guys will go ahead and search me on Instagram and you will find Kyo Machiko there. And that is exactly the same style you'll find on my SNS account too.
はい。では次に行きます。次は私の主要な作品をご紹介します。
I would like to also introduce one of my, most famous and important works that I've done so far.
こちら、千年画法という作品です。
This is my art, which is called Seinen Gaho.
私のデビュー作です。
This is my first work of manga.
これは特殊な事情がある、漫画作品です。
This has a particular condition or situation in it, this manga.
これを書き始めた当初、私は漫画家ではありませんでした。
When I started drawing this manga, I wasn't actually a manga artist back then.
出版社でアルバイトをしている若い女の子でした。
I was actually working at a publishing company back then.
仕事が終わってから家に帰って1ページの漫画を書いてブログにアップし始めました。
So I started uploading after finishing my day's work. I would go back home and I would write one page of manga and then upload it on my blog every day.
続けていくうちに人気が出て、編集者の目に留まり出版することになりました。
So while I was going about uploading it on my blog every day, somewhere down the line, the publisher took a note of my works and they asked me to publish it. And that's how I got my first work of art published.
はい、こうして私が漫画家になったという本です。
You can also call this as the beginning of my career as a manga artist.
中身はこんな感じになっています。
This is the content from my very first manga.
特徴としては、吹き出し、セリフがないということです。
If you look at it, you would notice that it's a little different from the regular manga, and you will not find the speech balloons or the dialogues in it.
右上にタイトルだけが書かれています。
On the top right, you can only find the title.
例えば右のページだと、拙者、近寄って撮るという意味のタイトルがついています。
So if you can see it, the title is read in Japanese as seisha, which actually means to take a photo by approaching close to a person.
最初のコマでは、花を近づいて撮っているというように見せかけて、実は、下の、少女に近づいているという内容です。
So if you look at it, it appears that the person is trying to take the photo of the flowers, but actually he's also taking the photo of the girl in there.
左のページは、4次元というタイトルがついています。これは4次元ポケット、ドラえもんの4次元ポケットという意味のタイトルです。
わかりました。all right. So on the left, you can see the title is called Yoji Game. And if you guys know about Doraemon in India, the Doraemon has a pocket, a magic pocket. So you put your hand in and then, you can get anything out. So it's that sort of pocket. And that's what this work is about.
はい。次、こんな感じ。
So you can look at it. These are other works from that same series.
特に左のページの作品は1枚の絵を、コマで割ったというちょっと実験的な試みをしています。
So as you can see on the left, it's sort of an experiment where I have drawn one picture on the whole page and then kind of divided it into different sections, different frames or panels.
で次に、もう一つ作品をご紹介します。
I would also like to introduce another of my works.
はい、コクーンという、第二次世界大戦中における日本の、沖縄という地方のことを書いた物語です。
This is a story which takes place in Okinawa around the era of Second World War, and it's called Cocoon.
その当時の沖縄では、女子学生たちが、戦争に駆り出されるという事態が起きていました。
Around that time, actually, the young girls were forced and sent to war in Okinawa around that time.
そのことを取材して、漫画にした作品です。
And this is the background, and this is what I have made into a story in Cocoon.
日本の今までの戦争漫画とは違ってファンタジーを取り入れた手法で非常に高く評価された作品です。
This piece of art is a little different from the other mangas that we have been written so far in Japan. As far as the war mangas are concerned, this one has war as a theme, but is also a fantasy.
日本以外の外国でも出版されたり、演劇になったりしています。
This work has actually been translated into several languages and is popular abroad as well, and has also been has also been performed on stages.
中身はこんな感じです。
This is how it looks from inside.
こちらのページでは女学生たちが空を見上げています。
On this page, there are several schoolgirls who are lying on the ground looking at the sky.
彼女たちが見ているのは鳥とか飛行機とかそういうものだと思います。
I believe these girls are actually looking at some birds or maybe airplanes, things like that.
でもそれが戦闘機だったらどうでしょうか。
However, how would it look like if it turns out to be a fighter airplane?
この物語、この話の最終ページでは次のようになります。
This is the next page of the very same story.
少女たちは木っ端みじんに吹き飛んでしまいます。
As you can see, the girls have been crushed to pieces on the very next page.
そうですね。非常に残酷なんですけれども、当時本当にあった話を絵にしました。
It might sound and look very cruel, but that actually happened back then in Japan.
そうですね。今までの私の作風ととっても違ったものでしたので、非常に大きな話題になりました。
This was absolutely different from my style so far. So this work of art actually got a lot of attention.
中身はこんな感じで、長編漫画、長い漫画になっています。
This is a long manga, and as you can see that this is the content of this manga.
いわゆる少女漫画というようなジャンルに分類されているようです。
This is somehow this is categorized as girl manga in Japan.
これは演劇になった時の様子です。
This is when it was performed on the stage.
非常に人気があって、今年もまた3回目の演劇化が行われる予定です。
Right. So this has been very popular, Cocoon, and this year it's going to be performed on the stage for the third time.
もう一つ、こちらは同じく戦争をテーマにした作品で、あのねという作品です。
This is also another of my works which has war as its theme, and it's called Anone.
こちらは、アウシュビッツ、ホロコーストの問題に対して日本人が非常に共感しづらいということから、取り組んでみようと思った作品です。
This piece of art is actually based on the story where I believe that the Holocaust of the Jews that happened in Germany, Japanese people kind of find it very difficult to identify and understand it in totality. And this is the theme that this work takes up.
アンネ・フランクと思われる主人公を日本人に置き換えたりして作られています。
So I have used a protagonist who resembles Anne Frank, but she's Japanese.
中身はこんな感じになっています。
As you can see, these are the contents of the manga.
こちらが、皆さん多分知ってらっしゃる方も多いと思うんですけれども、インスタグラムで連載している、ディスタンス、ステイホーム、ハッシュタグステイホームと名付けられた本です。
Right. So as you can see, if you go on my Instagram handle, you can also see this piece of work, which is called Distance, which I'm publishing on my Instagram handle currently.
コロナ禍における日常、主に東京、日本の各地の状況を一枚の絵にして、まとめたものです。
I'm trying to display the daily life of Tokyo or urban city in this manga by drawing how Corona has impacted the daily life in the city.
中身はこんな感じ。
These are the illustrations from this manga.
で、こちらは、私がテレビに紹介された時の、様子です。
This is when I actually got an opportunity. I was on TV, and these are the pictures from when I was on TV for an interview.
私、普段人前に顔を出さないということを徹底しております。
I actually do not show my face in public. So even during the TV interview, I did not let them show my or broadcast my face.
理由は2つあります。
I have two reasons for that.
1つ目はメイクがめんどくさいということです。
One of them is I do not really have a lot of time to do the makeup and prepare myself to appear before public.
もう一つの重要な理由は、作品の中の世界観を壊したくないという理由からです。
Another of the reasons is that I do not want my readers to connect my works to the author, that is me, and I want them to read and appreciate my works as the works, rather than connecting them with me.
そんなわけで今日もちょっと顔を出してないです。
And that is exactly the reason why I'm also not just showing my face today here.
すみません。
I hope you will let me be with that.
そうですね。あと他の漫画、シリアスな漫画が続いたので、コミカルな漫画も書いていますということをご紹介します。
So far, I have talked about the mangas that I have written, which are a little on the serious themes. However, I have also written some mangas which are on a more comical and a lighter theme.
こちらは自分の家で飼っている猫を主人公にした漫画です。
In this manga, I have actually turned my own cat, the cat I have at home, into the protagonist.
こんな風に飼っている猫を描いています。
That's the cat I have at home, and I have turned that cat into the protagonist of this manga.
で、私の自己紹介はここで終わりです。
So far, this is about me and my works, a little about my works.
続きまして、日本の漫画の現状についてちょっとご説明したいと思います。
I would also like to talk a little about the current state of Japanese manga in Japan.
おそらくインド、それと世界中で読まれて人気があるのは、今、皆さんが見ているこのような漫画だと思います。
I believe that in Japan also it's popular and abroad as well. And I think a lot of you would be aware of it are these sort of mangas which are called shonen manga.
少年漫画というジャンルになります。
These are called shonen manga. Shonen manga is basically for men or boys.
で、これ、最もメジャーなものなんですけども、それに続いて、少女漫画というものもあります。
Of course, the shonen manga is one of the major genre. However, alongside shonen manga, there is also another popular genre, which is the girls manga.
こちらは主に女性をターゲットにした漫画です。
These mangas are written targeting the women as their readers.
内容は恋愛についてがとっても多いです。
Most of them actually have love as their theme.
そうですね、一番左の漫画はとっても古い漫画です。
The one on the extreme left is actually a very old manga.
ベルサイユ宮殿、フランス革命についての状況を描きながら、その中にも恋愛を入れ込んだ漫画です。
This manga actually draws and talks about French Revolution, and among that, during the French Revolution, it also portrays a love story.
とっても日本で人気のある漫画です。
This was very popular in Japan.
そうですね。で、これが少女漫画なんですけど、またもう一つ、日本で人気のあるジャンルがあります。
Apart from the shoujo manga, which is like the manga written for women or girls, there is also another genre which is relatively popular in Japan.
エッセイ漫画というジャンルです。
And it is called essay manga, which is called autobiographical manga.
内容はですね、皆さん自分の生活、身の回りのことについて書いていることが多いです。
The content of this manga is usually that the author writes and tries to portray the daily life or the things around themselves.
例えば、一番左の漫画、失踪日記と言います。
For example, the one on the extreme left, it is called Shisso Nikki.
この漫画家はとっても人気のある方だったんですけれども、ある日突然行方不明になってしまいました。
The author of this manga and this manga was very popular, but one day the author for some reason just totally disappeared suddenly.
ファンはみんな一体彼がどうしているのかとっても不思議だったんですけれども、後にその彼の失踪、いなくなっていた時期のことを漫画にして出版してくれたおかげで知ることができました。
However, all the fans were like really craving to know what actually happened with him. Why did he disappear all of a sudden? And then later on, what he did is he turned what he was doing while he was during this hiatus, during this absence, he turned it into a manga. And due to that manga, the fans and the readers finally got to know what he was doing during the absence.
そうですね。じゃあ、ついでに他の漫画も紹介します。
I would also like to introduce a few more mangas to you.
一番右の漫画です。
I'm going to talk a little about the manga on the right.
これは自分の奥さんについて書いた漫画です。
This is a manga which has the author has written about his own wife.
普通に考えると自分の奥さんなんてそんな書くことないって思うんですけど、このシリーズは大人気でずっと続いています。
If you think about it, it's like it's a little different of the beaten path sort of a topic where the person is actually writing about his own wife. However, in Japan, it gained a huge popularity and is still popular and is still continuing.
その次の黄色い本、これは、実家が、自分の家が農家である 漫画家が描いた漫画です。
On the left, you see a manga with the yellow cover. That's with a content where the person has who belongs to an agrarian family, like they're farmers, and that is the theme of this manga.
農家の暮らしなどを描いてくれています。
So he has tried to portray the lifestyle of farmers.
この漫画家は、鋼の錬金術師という、ちょっと訳しにくいんですけど、その漫画で非常に人気の漫画家さんです。ファンタジーを描かれる方です。
はい、すいません、もう一回確認ですけれども、錬金術
です。魔法の方の錬金術ですね。
あ、なるほど。錬金は魔法っていう意味ですね。
そうですね。
あ、わかりました。So this has a part of a theme as like magic as part of the theme within it. And that's what it takes up as a theme alongside of being the portraying the daily life of a farmer.
で、最後、左から2番目の白い本は、フィンランドに、住むことになった会社員が書いた本です。
The one on the second from the left, the one with half white page, is something that depicts the lifestyle of Finland.
この人は漫画家ではありません。
This person is actually not a manga artist who has written this manga.
でも、漫画を描いて出版することができました。
However, this person got it published as a manga.
はい、こういう、タイプが非常に最近多いです。
Recently, this has become a trend in Japan.
はい、そうですね。漫画家になるのってとっても大変なことなんです。
To be honest, to become a manga artist, it's really an uphill task.
まず、有名な漫画家に弟子入りします。
あ、すいません、もう一度お願いします。
まず、有名な漫画家に、弟子入りします。先生になってもらいます。
わかりました。ありがとうございます。So the very first task, the very first step is that if you want to become a manga artist, is that you have to follow a famous manga artist and you try and become a disciple of that manga artist.
それから何年も書き続けてようやくデビューします。
And you keep practicing writing manga, drawing illustrations for several years. And then finally, at some point, if you can make it and if you're lucky enough, then you are able to publish your work for the first time.
そんな風にとっても大変だったんですけれども、今は事情が変わってきています。
This has been the case, the reality of a manga artist so far. However, recently, it has been changing.
SNS の発達によって、そんな苦しい修行をしなくても今すぐ漫画を描いてすぐにアップできるようになっています。
Because of SNS, right now, a lot of people are able to draw and write a manga and also upload it on their SNS right away. So they do not have to follow that tedious process for publishing.
なので皆さんももう今すぐ漫画家になれてしまうという環境が整っているわけです。
So, in other words, you can also actually say that right now, all of you and anyone can become a manga artist overnight.
本当に現代に生きててよかったなと私は思ってます。
And for that reason, I'm really thankful to have been born in these times.
私の例で言うと、私はそもそもブログで漫画を発表していたらデビューすることができたと言っていましたね。
In my particular case, I started as a blog writer, and then from there on, I became a manga artist.
今ここに出ているのがそのブログの第1回目に書いた漫画です。
The one that you see on the screen right now is my very first manga.
とっても下手ですね。
As you can see, it's not really good.
でもここから、1000枚、2000枚と書いているうちに上達して、漫画家になることができました。
However, despite that, I continued drawing, writing manga and drawing illustrations. And after having drawn some several thousand illustrations, I think I have gotten better now.
当時は漫画家になるなんて思っていなかったので、SNS でみんなに応援してもらって、漫画家という職業を目指すことになりました。
At that time, I wasn't actually planning to become a manga artist. However, because of SNS and because of so much of love showered by my fans and readers, I actually decided to take manga as my profession, writing manga as my profession.
そうですね。なので皆さんもぜひ気軽に自分の日常を、漫画にして SNS などにアップしてみてください。
And I would also encourage all of you to try and write manga or try to draw, depict what is happening around you and turn it into some sort of illustration or manga and try to upload it on your SNS account.
きっと素敵なことが起きると思います。
I'm very sure that you will most likely get become a manga artist someday too.
はい。ぜひ漫画を描くのを楽しんでみてくださいね。
And I'm very sure that you will enjoy the process of writing a manga.
はい、ちょっと長くなりましたけど、私の自己紹介と、日本の漫画についての説明は終わります。
So far, that's what I wanted to talk about myself and the manga, the current condition of manga in Japan. And here I'll end my self-introduction.
はい。そうですね。ちょっとこの先なんですけれども、皆さんからいただいた、漫画の絵を見ていこうかなと思うんですけれども、いいでしょうか。
From here on, if it is all right, I would like to talk a little about the illustrations that I've received from all of you. Is that all right?
はい。それとも何かご質問があれば、さっと答えます。
Of course, in case if you have any questions to ask before we get into that, I can take some questions as well.
Yes, we do have a question answer round now. So please use the chat box to come in with your questions or unmute yourself after raising your hand. Adrija, please take over.
はい、今から、ちょっと質疑応答に入りたいと思います。質問がある人は、ちょっとチャットの方に書いて残してください。で、これからアドミンはアドリジャさんに変わります。
はい。
A very good afternoon to everyone present here. We'll be asking you a few questions. I'll be beginning with the first question. As a writer, oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Sorry, just let me interpret a little.
Yeah, sure.
はい、では今からいくつか質問していきたいと思います。では、第1回目の第1の、質問です。
はい。
1番目の質問ですね。はい。
As a
sorry, please.
Yeah. As a writer, what would you advise budding writers present here? How to manage between a full-time job and writing as a hobby? When to switch to full-time writing, knowing that it's a volatile role?
Okay, so I understand that you have two questions here. Number one is that if you are not a full-time writer, how do you manage your time between writing as well as your full-time job? And second is, when is a right or opportune time to turn into a full-time writer? Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you. 質問が2つございまして、1番目は、正社員をしている人が、趣味として漫画家になろうとしている人が、どのようにその時間、なんていうんですか、両立ができる仕事と、その趣味の漫画家としての活動の両立ができるか、そこら辺でもし何かアドバイスがあればいただきたいなということです。で、2点目ですけれども、大丈夫でしょうか？
はい、大丈夫です。
はい、2点目ですけれども、そのまま趣味のままでやり続けて、どの時点になりましたら、これで漫画家をプロフェッションとして目指していってもいいという時期が来るんでしょう。そこら辺は何かお考えはありますでしょうか？
そうですね。まず1番目の質問にお答えします。
はい。
そうですね。日本では、おそらく正社員、フルタイムで働いていて、漫画も描くという人は結構いてですね。例えば、週末を全部漫画の描く時間に使う人がいます。
ありがとうございます。じゃあ、とりあえずそこまで通訳すればいいですかね。 はい、わかりました。So in Japan, actually, you'll be surprised that there are quite a lot of people who are working full time and are also drawing or writing a lot of mangas. And one of the things that you can possibly do is, along with a full-time job, is that you can possibly use your weekends or your day offs at work to use them fully for writing manga or drawing illustrations.
またはSNS などに載せる小さい規模の漫画の場合、朝の短い時間、帰ってきてからの短い時間を使って書く人もいます。
Or another way of going about it is possibly because you can use SNS to showcase your works. What you can possibly do is you can draw short mangas, short versions of mangas, and maybe draw something in the morning or write something in the morning before you go to the work and upload it. Or you can also, when you come back from work, then maybe you can work on it and prepare just, shorter, smaller chunks or pieces of the manga.
私の場合ですと会社員ではないんですけど、学生時代に、通学の時間が長かったので、その通学の時間を使って絵を描いていたということはあります。
In my case, I wasn't a full-time employee. However, at that time, I was a student, and it took me quite some time to travel to my school. It was far. So I used my travel time to draw my illustrations.
じゃあ2番目の質問に移ります。
That's my advice for those who are full-time workers. So maybe that's how you can possibly manage your time. Regarding the second question.
そうですね。これは私の場合というか、私の尊敬する漫画家の方が言ってたことをそのままお伝えします。
This is not exactly what I think. This is not my word. These are not my words. I think, but these are not my words. And these are from one of the manga artists whom I respect immensely.
非常に現実的な話ですけれども、自分が会社員として働いていた時の給料と、漫画で稼いだお金を比べて、漫画で稼いだお金がその会社員の給料を超えた場合に、漫画専門の漫画家になったということをおっしゃってました。
Thank you. ありがとうございます。This is one of the manga artists whom I respect immensely, said that while working as a full-time employee, to find out the opportune time to make the shift towards becoming a full-time manga artist this is a very practical advice, I believe. And it is that you compare your salary that you receive at your workplace. And then if you start receiving a similar amount of income from drawing mangas, then possibly you can make that shift and become a full-time manga artist.
私の考えとしてはもっと感覚的で、自分の漫画が何かしら世の中にインパクトを与えているって実感できた時点で漫画家なのではないかなとは思っています。
However, if you ask me personally, I would say that the day you figure out that your manga that you're writing is actually leaving an impact in this world, then I think that's exactly the time when you have already turned into a manga artist, and that should be fine.
はい、以上です。
That's all what I think about it. I hope I have answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is, what inspired you to start writing manga in the first place? Did you always want to be a manga artist?
Thank you. 2番目の質問なんですけれども、漫画家になったきっかけは何でしょうか。もともと最初からもう子供の頃はずっと漫画家になりたいっていう夢があったのでしょうか。それとも何かしらのきっかけで漫画家にその道を歩み始めたのでしょうか。
そうですね。子供の頃は全く漫画家になろうとは思っていませんでした。
はい。As a child, I actually never thought that I would become a manga artist.
どちらかというとですね、イラストレーション、画家の方になりたいと思って美術大学に進みました。
I always enjoyed drawing illustrations, so I wanted to become a painter someday, and that is one of the reasons why I went to the Tokyo National University of Arts.
できっかけはですね、働いていた出版社で、ちょっと漫画が必要なページができたので、漫画を描いてもらえないかと頼まれたことです。
While I was working at the publisher, at a publisher, they got some manga work, and they asked me if you would you please, would you like to write some manga for us? And that's where I started giving it a try, and that was the very beginning of my career as a manga artist.
ちょっと漫画を描いてみたら楽しくて、以後ずっと漫画を描いてます。
So when I started writing manga, I was absolutely hooked to writing manga. I enjoyed the process so much that I could never leave it after that.
はい、以上です。
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The third question is, the time of the pandemic was nerve-wracking for all of us, and people are still struggling to come to terms with the loss. Had it been challenging for you to crimp all the phases of pandemic time in your work, distance, my #stayhomediary?
Sorry, I want you to, can you please repeat the last part of the question?
I'm going too fast. The time of the pandemic was nerve-wracking for all of us, and people are still struggling to come to terms with the loss.
The last part is fine. Just the last. I think you talked about some hashtag, some Instagram.
Yeah. It is. Had it been challenging for you to crimp all the phases of the pandemic time in your work, distance, my #stayhomediary.
All right. Thank you. この2、3年間ですね、コロナ禍の中で大変っていう、いろいろ大変で、皆さんが苦労されている中ではございますが、その中で漫画家として、特にそういったコロナ禍の影響を捉えようとしている漫画ですね、ディスタンスとか、そういった漫画の中でどのように捉えられたとか、どのように工夫されたとか、何かそこら辺で、共有できる感想とかあればお聞かせください。
はい、どうしてもパンデミックの中でエッセンシャルワーカーという人たちがとっても注目されたり応援されたりしていましたね。でも、はい、すみません。
いえいえ、大丈夫。So as you have seen as a trend, as a tendency during the pandemic, when the corona pandemic started, actually most of the attention or focus immediately went on to people who were engaged in providing essential services.
でも私は逆に誰も注目しない普通の人たちの姿を描こうと思いました。
However, at that time, I thought that everybody is paying attention or focusing on people who are into essential services. However, at the very same time, I wanted to depict the daily life of a common man.
彼らも確かにこの世に存在していて生きているっていうことを記録しておかなければって思ったからです。
Just because of the pandemic didn't mean that the existence of these common people around you and me, it ceased to exist. That didn't happen. So I definitely, I thought that I must depict the daily life and the stories of these common men and lead them during the pandemic. Yeah.
日常っていうのはとっても普段は見過ごしているんですけれども何年も何年も経った後で見返してみるととっても貴重なものだったと分かると思います。
So like sometimes you think that these things are very simple and are the daily things that we experience are not of note or importance. However, once you get back to them after some time, you notice that they are of importance.
はい、以上です。
I hope that answers the question.
Yes. The next question is, do you read a lot of manga? Are you someone who reads manga and then gets excited to make more mangas? Or is your passion for making manga not linked to any particular love for other manga? Should I repeat it?
No, that's all right. Thank you. 次の質問なんですけれども、まずは1点目なんですけれども、ご自分が漫画家でありながらも、他の漫画は読まれたりしてますか？読まれていれば、どの程度の量で読まれてますかっていうことと、で、 2点目なんですけれども、ご自身が漫画家としての活動っていうのが、ご自身が漫画を読まれていることに関係あるんでしょうか。それとも、それとはもう無関係で、ご自分が描きたいだけを描いていくっていうことなのでしょうか。
はい、じゃあ、まず1番目についてお答えします。
はい。
そうですね。他の漫画、なかなか忙しくて読めはしないんですけども、それなりに好きな漫画はいっぱいあって、プライベートで好きなのは、いわゆる少年漫画です。ジャンプの漫画だと、ちょっと伝えづらいんですけど、ヒーローアカデミアという漫画、それと、ジョジョという漫画などよく読んでます。
ありがとうございます。Yes, of course, I love reading manga. However, because I'm very busy due to my work, so I don't get a lot of time to read mangas. So whenever I do get some time to read, I like to read shonen mangas. And if you have heard Shonen Jump, that's one of the publishers whose manga I like. And among that is a manga called Hero Academia, which roughly translates to Yellow Academics or Academia. And that is what I like to read.
そうですね。2点目ですけれども、ちょっと私も